Dan Markel, born in 1972 in the vibrant city of Toronto, Canada, had a life that was destined for greatness. From an early age, it was clear that Dan possessed an extraordinary intellect, paving the way for a remarkable future. His educational adventure began with a thirst for knowledge and a desire to explore different cultures. The University of Jerusalem provided him with a taste of diversity and intellectual traditions, setting the stage for what was to come. Dan continued his academic pursuits at renowned institutions such as Cambridge and Harvard, solidifying his reputation as a legal prodigy. In 2001, he proudly earned his law degree from Harvard, a testament to his unwavering dedication and brilliance. After completing his studies, Dan embarked on a practical journey in the legal field, working as a clerk at a prestigious law firm. However, fate had other plans in store for him. In 2005, an unexpected opportunity arose at Florida State University's College of Law, offering him the chance to delve deeper into criminal law and share his knowledge through teaching. It was a turning point that would shape the trajectory of his career. Amidst these professional transitions, Dan's personal life took a serendipitous turn. Through a Jewish singles dating site, he crossed paths with Wendy Adelson, a woman who shared his passion for law. Their connection went beyond mere companionship, as they became partners in both life and the legal world. Their shared interests and common goals culminated in a joyous marriage on February 26, 2006. Dan Markel's story is one of intellectual brilliance, professional growth, and a fortuitous love that intertwined with his legal journey. Dan and Wendy set out on what seemed like the realization of their dreams. They both had successful careers in law and were financially stable, which allowed them to focus on their shared ambitions. Their happiness grew even more when they welcomed their first son in 2009, followed closely by the birth of their second son in 2010. It appeared that life was going smoothly for Dan and Wendy. But as life often does, things took an unexpected turn in 2012. Their seemingly perfect union began to show cracks, eventually leading to a decision to go their separate ways. The details of their divorce were kept private, so little was known about what caused their marriage to fall apart. However, the aftermath of their separation revealed a significant shift in their relationship. Wendy, filled with resentment and fueled by a desire for revenge, initiated the divorce proceedings, which had a lasting impact on both of their lives. When Dan returned from a business trip, he was met with a harsh reality. The home they once shared was almost empty. Wendy had meticulously stripped away any trace of their life together, exposing the deep animosity that had taken hold of their relationship. Following the divorce, Dan not only had to deal with the emotional challenges of the separation but also with a complicated legal battle. Wendy's vindictive actions, such as changing their children's last names and altering their middle names, demonstrated the bitterness that characterized their post-divorce relationship. Their divorce, instead of remaining a private matter, turned into a public spectacle, providing glimpses into a tumultuous split. Despite the obstacles they faced, Dan never wavered in his dedication to maintaining a relationship with his children. Co-parenting, however, posed its own set of challenges, as the aftermath of the divorce continued to cast a dark cloud over their lives. Wendy's behavior, driven by what Dan described as a sudden and devastating separation, revealed a vindictiveness that went beyond the usual struggles of divorce. The extent to which Wendy went to erase any trace of Dan from their lives hinted at a deeply rooted animosity. The year 2014 brought a period of adjustment for both Dan and Wendy as they tried to navigate their separate lives. While Dan continued his work at Florida State University, Wendy explored a new path: writing. Her attempt at a law book focused on human trafficking, a topic within Dan's own expertise, showed a convergence of professional interests even after their separation. Unfortunately, the venture fell short, as the book received harsh criticism and was labeled as terribly written. Amidst these personal and professional changes, July 18, 2014, turned out to be a day that forever changed Dan Markel's life. Following his usual routine, Dan went to Wendy's house that morning to pick up their children and take them to preschool. Little did he know that this routine would soon be disrupted by a series of events that would ultimately lead to a tragedy. By 11 a.m. that day, Dan had finished his errands and returned home, hoping for a sense of normalcy. However, as he pulled into his driveway, he was greeted by an unsettling presence, someone waiting for him. The details of Dan's actions in the moments leading up to the incident and the subsequent tragedy would later become the focus of an investigation. The unfolding events took a chilling turn when Dan, still sitting in his car, was suddenly ambushed. Out of nowhere, a gunshot pierced the tranquility of the suburban neighborhood, causing chaos and fear. The bullet, propelled at an unbelievable speed, found its target right in the middle of Dan's face, causing a devastating injury. The aftermath of this horrific incident left behind a gruesome scene, with Dan remaining in the driver's seat, blood staining the car's interior, and shattered glass scattered everywhere. The sound of the gunshot immediately caught the attention of a neighbor, who rushed to see what was happening. Shocked and horrified by the sight before them, they wasted no time and immediately dialed 911 to report the gravity of the situation. Describing the life-threatening circumstances to the emergency dispatcher, the neighbor emphasized the urgent need for help. Relying on the distressing details provided, paramedics hurried to the scene, aware of the dire consequences if they were not swift enough. Dan Markel, now in critical condition and struggling for survival, was swiftly transported to the hospital. The severity of his wounds posed an immense challenge to the medical professionals, who were left grappling with the enormity of the situation. The gunshot wound, deliberately inflicted with precision, required extensive medical intervention and expertise to address. The investigation into this shocking incident unfolded rapidly, with law enforcement agencies meticulously piecing together the events of that fateful day. Initially, the focus was on identifying the assailant, and early leads pointed towards a silver Toyota Prius seen in the area. The nature of the attack, which was clearly targeted with deadly intentions, led the authorities to consider various possibilities, including personal vendettas and professional conflicts. As Dan fought for his life in the hospital, a sense of urgency permeated the investigation. The motive behind this merciless attack remained a mystery, leaving investigators to explore every possible angle. They delved into Dan's personal and professional life, giving special attention to his divorce and the relationships he had in his career, searching for any clue that could shed light on the reasons behind such a brutal and calculated act. The reverberations of the shooting echoed throughout the community, leaving everyone in shock and disbelief. Those who knew Dan Markel, his colleagues, friends, and students, struggled to comprehend the sudden and violent attack on a man admired for his intellectual contributions and dedication. As investigators delved into Dan's personal life, the intricacies of his divorce from Wendy came into focus. The bitterness between the former couple, intensified by Wendy's calculated actions, became a central point of interest. The question of whether the divorce and its aftermath played a role in the brutal assault on Dan lingered in the minds of those tasked with solving the case. At the same time, the legal community at Florida State University grappled with the shock of the incident. Dan's colleagues and students, already dealing with the emotional toll of seeing a respected figure targeted in such a way, were now faced with navigating the uncertainties that arose after the shooting. The once intellectually driven academic environment now became tinged with fear and speculation. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation encountered numerous obstacles. The assailant, shrouded in secrecy, seemed to have left behind very little evidence. The silver Toyota Prius, initially thought to be a possible lead, yielded limited results. Surveillance footage captured glimpses of the vehicle, but the identity of the attacker remained concealed. The absence of a clear motive added further complexity to the investigation, forcing detectives to explore multiple avenues. Despite facing numerous obstacles, the investigators never wavered in their pursuit of justice. With a strong sense of unity, the legal community eagerly awaited updates on the case, hoping for closure and answers. Finally, on May 26, 2016, almost 2 years after the shooting, a breakthrough occurred in the investigation. A warrant was issued for first-degree murder against Sigfrido Garcia, a total stranger to Dan Markel. This shocking revelation reverberated throughout the community, raising questions about the motive and the individuals responsible for the orchestrated attack. Sigfrido Garcia, identified as the gunman, did not act alone. Luis Rivera emerged as an accomplice, further adding complexity to the case. As the puzzle pieces slowly fit together, the details of their involvement and the circumstances leading to the targeted attack on Dan Markel became the focus of intense scrutiny. This narrative surpassed the boundaries of a typical criminal investigation, drawing attention from all corners. As the investigators dug deeper into the backgrounds of Garcia and Rivera, a more intricate web of relationships began to emerge. The trail led them to the Edelson family, particularly Charlie and Donna Edelson, while Catherine Magbanua became a central figure in this unfolding drama. The perplexing enigma was why these individuals, seemingly unrelated to Dan Markel, would conspire to carry out a murder-for-hire plot. Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother, took center stage as a person of interest in the case. The connections between him and Catherine Magbanua, who had ties to both Garcia and Rivera, raised suspicions about the motives behind the targeted attack on Dan Markel. The complexity of these connections and hidden alliances hinted at a conspiracy that went far beyond a simple divorce gone wrong. Catherine Magbanua's involvement brought a new level of complexity to the case. Her ties to the Edelson family, particularly Donna Edelson, raised suspicions about a possible motive rooted in personal vendettas. The financial transactions between Donna and Catherine, which were documented in bank records, created a trail of financial dealings leading up to the tragic incident. As law enforcement delved deeper into the investigation, they sought to unravel the connections between these seemingly unrelated individuals. Donna's hostility towards Dan Markel became evident through a series of hateful emails sent to Wendy in the months prior to the shooting. These emails were filled with resentment and disdain, hinting at a deep-seated grudge that went beyond the boundaries of their divorce. Investigating how Donna's animosity escalated to the point of orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot became a major focus of the investigation. The case grew even more complex as investigators pieced together the timeline leading up to the planned murder-for-hire. The involvement of Charlie Adelson, Catherine Magbanua, and the financial transactions with Donna Edelson pointed towards a calculated plan involving multiple people. As the intricate web of relationships unraveled, it revealed a level of deceit and revenge that went beyond what is typically seen in criminal investigations. The arrests of Garcia and Rivera marked a turning point in the pursuit of justice, but lingering questions remained. The extent of Wendy Adelson's knowledge and potential involvement in the plot became a subject of speculation. After the arrests, the focus shifted towards examining Wendy's actions and her relationship with the Edelson family, adding even more layers of complexity to an already twisted narrative. After the arrests, the legal proceedings took on a whole new level of intensity. The prosecution went to great lengths to present the evidence in a meticulous manner, painting a vivid picture of a deep-rooted conspiracy. Inside the courtroom, it became a fierce battleground where they dissected the complexities of relationships, financial transactions, and personal vendettas with utmost precision. As the legal drama played out, all eyes turned to Wendy Adelson. Her knowledge and potential involvement in the murder-for-hire plot became the subject of intense scrutiny. The shocking details about her divorce from Dan Markel and the animosity displayed by her family fueled rampant speculation about Wendy's role in the whole ordeal. Within the courtroom, the focus shifted heavily towards the Edelson family. Donna Edelson's alleged orchestrating of the murder-for-hire plot, driven by her apparent hatred for Dan Markel, became a central theme. The financial transactions and incriminating evidence linking the Edelsons to Catherine Magbanua and the hired assailants painted a damning picture of a deadly vendetta. Even after the arrests and convictions, lingering questions remained about what motivated these individuals to conspire against a man they had never even met. The mystery of why Dan Markel, a well-respected legal scholar, became the target of such a calculated and ruthless scheme continued to baffle everyone. The community, originally seeking closure, now found themselves grappling with the complexities of a case that went beyond the usual boundaries of criminal investigations. The trial shed light on the intricate relationships that fueled the conspiracy, yet the fundamental question of why someone like Dan Markel became the focus of such a sinister plot remained elusive to all. As the legal drama unfolded, new information about Wendy Adelson's knowledge and potential involvement added another layer of complexity to the story. The courtroom became a stage where the dynamics of the Adelson family were closely examined, with the prosecution trying to establish a motive based on personal grudges. During the trial, a series of emails between Donna Edelson and Wendy were presented, revealing the deep animosity the Edelson family held towards Dan Markel. These emails were filled with anger and resentment, giving us a glimpse into the underlying hostility that had been simmering for some time. It seemed that Donna's dislike for Dan stemmed from the aftermath of her divorce, which fueled her desire for revenge that went beyond legal boundaries. As the courtroom listened to the exchanges between the Edelsons and Wendy, the puzzle pieces started to come together. The financial transactions, the connections between Catherine Magbanua and the Edelsons, and the carefully planned plot to eliminate Dan Markel all pointed to a web of vengeance that had been intricately woven over time. The trial took an unexpected turn when Catherine Magbanua, a key figure in the conspiracy, decided to cooperate with the prosecution. Her testimony provided a first-hand account of the events leading up to the murder-for-hire plot. Catherine revealed Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother, as the mastermind behind the plan, and Donna Edelson's crucial role in financing the operation. According to Catherine, the motive behind the conspiracy was Donna Edelson's intense hatred for Dan Markel. The bitterness stemming from the divorce, combined with Donna's belief that Dan was standing in the way of her daughter Wendy's happiness, fueled a desire for revenge that ultimately led to a deadly plot. The financial transactions between Donna and Catherine were portrayed as payments for carrying out the plan. Charlie Adelson's role as the mastermind behind the plot became clear when Catherine testified. She revealed his alleged manipulation of events, from involving her in the scheme to connecting with the hired gunman, which painted a picture of a calculated plan fueled by family animosity. These shocking revelations challenged the courtroom's perception of the Adelson family and their possible involvement in the crime that had shaken the community. As the trial carried on, Wendy Adelson faced intense scrutiny. The revelations about her family's role in the conspiracy, combined with the emails expressing her mother's hatred for Dan, raised doubts about Wendy's credibility. The defense tried to distance Wendy from the plot, emphasizing her lack of direct involvement. However, lingering questions persisted about her knowledge and potential complicity. The defense argued that Wendy played no active role in planning the attack on Dan Markel, portraying her as an unwitting pawn caught up in family grudges. Wendy insisted on her innocence, stating that she had no knowledge of the plot that ultimately ended her ex-husband's life. The trial reached its climax as the courtroom awaited the verdict. The prosecution meticulously presented a case built on complex relationships, financial transactions, and a web of animosity. The defense, on the other hand, aimed to cast reasonable doubt on Wendy Adelson's awareness of the conspiracy. Finally, on a fateful day, the jury delivered their verdict. Charlie Adelson and Donna Edelson were pronounced guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. The jury concluded that their actions, driven by a toxic mix of hatred and revenge, led to the orchestrated attack on Dan Markel. The courtroom, filled with a mixture of relief and solemn contemplation, witnessed justice being served. Wendy Adelson, although not directly involved in the conspiracy, had to face the aftermath of a trial that exposed the complexities of her family dynamics. The lingering doubts about her knowledge and potential involvement left lasting scars that went beyond the legal realm. The community, still reeling from the shock of Dan Markel's targeted attack, now had to deal with the consequences of a trial that revealed the dark side of personal animosities. The impact of the case spread throughout the legal community, prompting contemplation on the vulnerability of those in high-profile professions. The tragedy of Dan Markel's life and the subsequent trial served as a cautionary tale, highlighting the potential repercussions of unresolved conflicts and family feuds. Charlie Adelson was found guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder by a jury on November 2023. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on December 2023. Catherine Magbanua was also found guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder by a jury. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Sigfredo Garcia was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder by a jury. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Luis Rivera pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and cooperated with the prosecution as a key witness. He was sentenced to 19 years in prison on October 2016, which he is serving concurrently with a 12-year sentence for a federal racketeering charge. Donna Adelson and her husband were about to use one-way tickets to board a flight to Dubai and Vietnam, countries that do not have an extradition treaty with the United States. She is currently in custody and awaiting trial. Don't hesitate to let me know what do you think in the comments section, and please like and subscribe. This will help my channel to grow.